Imagine waking up one morning, and by midnight, everyone you have ever loved is gone. Not gone as it moved away, not gone as in a fight, gone forever, in a single night. A single moment that split one man's life into two halves, the life he had and a life he had to survive. His name was Daniel Mercer, and this is the story of what he lost, what it cost him, and what he did with the rubble of a shattered world that left an entire country speechless. This is Told in the Dark. To understand what Daniel lost, you first have to understand what he had, because what he had was everything most people only dream of. Daniel was 41 years old, living in a small town in rural Ohio. He wasn't famous. He wasn't wealthy. He drove a second-hand pickup truck, worked as a high school gym teacher, and coached the local youth football team on weekends. But Daniel Mercer had something money could never buy. He had a family that adored him. His wife, Karen, was his high school sweetheart. They had been together since they were 17 years old. 24 years of inside jokes, quiet mornings, and a love that had grown stronger through every storm life threw at them. His children, twins, Emma and Caleb, 12 years old, were the kind of kids who still held their father's hand in public, who still ran to the door when they heard his truck pull into the driveway. And his mother, Ruth, 71 years old, lived just 3 houses down the street. Every Sunday, without exception, she cooked dinner for the whole family. Podruast, mashed potatoes, the same meal she had made for 40 years. This was Daniel's world. Small, ordinary, irreplaceable. He had no idea it was all about to end. It was a Friday in November, one of those cold, gray Ohio evenings where the rain comes down sideways and the whole world feels like it's holding its breath. Daniel was home. He had stayed behind because of a migraine, the kind that makes the light feel like a knife behind your eyes. Karen had offered to cancel the trip. He told her to go. It was just a 2-hour drive to his mother-in-law's birthday celebration. They would be back by Sunday. They never came back. At 9:47 p.m., a truck driver who had been behind the wheel for 22 consecutive hours crossed the center line on Route 40. He never even braked. Karen, Emma, Caleb, and Daniel's mother, Ruth, who had joined them at the last minute because she never liked to miss a birthday. All 4 of them, gone, in an instant. The phone call came at 11:23 p.m. Daniel answered it on the second ring. He would later say that somewhere deep inside him, before the officer even spoke, he already knew. The next 48 hours were a blur of hospital waiting rooms, paperwork, phone calls Daniel couldn't make, and silence in his house so loud it felt physical. For coffins, one church, one broken man sitting in the front row, unable to cry. Not because he wasn't devastated, but because some grief is so deep it lives below tears. For 3 months after the funeral, Daniel Mercer did not leave his house. His colleagues covered his classes. His neighbors left food on the porch. His friends called, then texted, then stopped calling. Inside that house, time didn't move the way it does for the rest of the world. Daniel would wake up at 2 a.m. and forget, for just 1/2 second, that they were gone. And then remember, every single morning, for 90 days straight, grief has a way of lying to you. It tells you that survival is a betrayal, that if you laugh again, you didn't love them enough, that the pain is the only connection you have left, and letting it go means letting them go. Daniel held on to that pain like a lifeline, because in a way it was. He later told a reporter, "The hardest thing wasn't the nights. The nights I expected to be bad. It was the mornings. Every single morning, for a few seconds, everything was fine. And then I remembered. And I had to lose them all over again. Every single day." But something happened on day 94. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, the same chair he sat in every night, staring at nothing, when he noticed, for the first time, a drawing still stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet. Emma had drawn it 2 weeks before she died. It was a crayon picture of their family. Stick figures, all 5 of them holding hands. Under it, in a child's handwriting, she had written 4 words. "We love you, Daddy." Daniel Mercer put his face in his hands, and for the first time since the night of the phone call, he wept. The next morning, Daniel got dressed. He walked outside. He stood on his porch and breathed the cold Ohio air for the first time in 3 months. He didn't know what he was going to do. He didn't have a plan. He had no roadmap for this kind of loss. Nobody does. But he made one decision. One small, almost invisible decision that would change the trajectory of his life and the lives of hundreds of people he had never met. He decided to do something with the love he still had left. Daniel knew that his children had loved football, so he went back to coaching. At first, he could barely get through a practice without having to walk off the field and collect himself. The kids knew what had happened. They gave him space. They also gave him something he didn't expect: purpose. A 10-year-old named Marcus, whose own father had left years earlier, started staying after practice. Not to run extra drills, just to talk. And Daniel listened. For the first time in months, he was thinking about someone else's pain instead of drowning in his own. That was the crack in the wall. Over the following year, Daniel did something nobody expected. He took the insurance settlement from the accident, every single dollar of it, and he used it to do something extraordinary. He founded the Mercer House, a free weekend refuge for children who had lost a parent or were living in crisis. A place where kids could come on Saturday mornings, eat a hot meal, talk to a counselor, and feel, for a few hours, like they belonged somewhere. He built for others what he wished someone had built for him. In the first year, 12 children came through the Mercer House. By year 3, it was over 200. By year 5, Daniel had opened 3 locations across Ohio, all funded by donations from strangers who had heard his story. He named the first building after Karen, the second after Emma, the third after Caleb. And in the entrance hallway of every location, he hung a framed copy of that crayon drawing. The stick figures, all 5 of them holding hands. "We love you, Daddy." A local journalist who wrote about Daniel's story asked him once, "How do you come back from something like that? How do you survive losing everyone?" Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that has stayed with everyone who heard it. "You don't survive it. You carry it. And eventually, if you're lucky enough and brave enough, you find a way to make the weight mean something." Daniel Mercer is 48 years old now. He still coaches youth football on weekends. He still drives a second-hand pickup truck. He still can't quite bring himself to take that crayon drawing off the refrigerator. But he no longer wakes up and forgets. He wakes up and remembers. And this time, what he remembers isn't just what he lost. It's what they gave him. A capacity for love so deep that even loss couldn't empty it. He turned his grief into a gift, his pain into a purpose, his family's memory into a living, breathing legacy. There's a version of this story where Daniel Mercer never leaves that kitchen chair, where the darkness wins, and nobody would have blamed him. But he chose differently. Not once, not dramatically, but every single day, quietly, stubbornly, courageously, he chose to keep going. And somewhere tonight, a child who has lost everything is sitting in a warm room that carries his family's name, feeling a little less alone because of it. That is what love looks like when it refuses to die.